welcome George Ensle back for the second time in the music business.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank Randy and Helen for having me and opening their home up to me. When you grow up, you know, it's always wonderful to have the blessing of good parents. But it's always kind of a whole lot more fun when you have cool aunts and uncles too. Uncle Jack always was a rounder. He drove a pickup Ford. He drank beers and Sears easy chairs reading Louis L'Amour. I'd sleep on his sofa summer Saturday nights. When I was with Uncle Jack, I felt a little more alive. Well, Uncle Jack never was a wage slave. He was his own man, with his own recipe for living. Ran a hamburger stand, had a sign that read, "Gone fishing." He never would be one to let work get in the way of us having some fun. The black sheep of the family, sometimes late at night, he'd show up at our house a little bit too tight. Mama tuck him in on the sofa, and when she thought he was asleep, I'd watch her lean over and kiss him on the cheek. Uncle Jack never missed my birthday. He'd always come around with a brand new crisp $5 bill he got from the bank downtown. He'd say, "I'll arm wrestle you for it," and he'd always let me win. And he'd say, "Maybe next time," with a wink and a grin. And Uncle Jack always played catch with me when no one else had time. Taught me how to throw a football, how to time a fishing line. Taught me how to sink the 8-ball and win it on the break. He'd say close only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades. You know, I never told a soul, but when I was a kid, and I'd spend the night with him, one thing he always did. After he'd tuck me in and thought I was asleep, he'd lean over that old sofa, kiss me on the cheek. Uncle Jack didn't grow old and in the way, he just moved down to the coast, where a man can dance, remember France, and do a little toasting. And I still go to see him every now and then, living by his wits and the grace of God. There'll be no change in him. Uncle Jack. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, Mark Twain once said, when I was 14 years old, my father was the most ignorant person that I knew. And when I turned 21, I was amazed at how much he'd learned in 7 years. Here's me standing up at bat in my first Little League game, before I lost it when I struck out and dropped my head in shame. But on that long ride home, you said I didn't really lose, because I went down swinging and made no excuse. Here's me standing on your shoulders, working up the nerve to dive the deep end, tears welling up inside. But I made it when you told me those words every child should know. You said I might turn you loose, but I'll never let you go. Saving me, you've been saving me in this album by your bed, filled with pictures of me growing up and the ways that I've been blessed with your little words of wisdom for my little cries for help that saved me from a scary world and saved me from myself. Here's you running along beside me on my first two-wheel bike, trying to steer me straight like you've done all my life. You said it's not about the falling down, it's the climbing back on. It's not how far you've yet to go, it's how far you've already gone. Sometimes we let each other down, but when all was said and done, we stood by one another when they snapped that shutter. Forever the Father and the Son. Now I know you might not understand all I'm saying in this song, or why you're in your second childhood, or why you're in this nursing home. I guess all roles are changing. Now I'm taking care of you, and the pictures in this scrapbook filled with timeless truth. I'll be saving you, saving you in this album by my bed. And I'll hold on so now you can let go and know you've done your best. And I'll pray for words of wisdom for your little cries for help, to save you from a scary world and save you from yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Well, God bless you. Well, I'll try to make you laugh a little.
I love that song.
Thank you. This next song called, it's a Texas thing, and it's a song I wrote a while back, and there's a young fellow by the name of Dalton Travis Gray, who's a wonderful young up-and-coming songwriter out of Austin, and he's recording actually up here in Denton, just north of Denton in Aubrey, at a studio up there that's put out quite a few great products, and working with a great producer. And he was playing the song the other day in a restaurant or a club somewhere, and this fella approached him and said, you know, if you changed up those words, it would be a great theme song for the Rangers. Call it It's a Rangers Thing. And so he called me up and said, "Is that all right with you, George?" And I said, "Absolutely, go for it," And they did, and put it up on YouTube and got a couple of thousand hits on YouTube and put it up on iTunes. And this fellow on Channel 8, the sportscaster, Dale Hansen, does he? He put a montage together. Did you happen to see it?
I didn't.
And over the song and put it up on the air. And so, but it all started with this, and so you just never know where a song's going to go, People talk about, us being braggadocio, from Texas, and I always think about the Texan that went to heaven, and when he got there, and St. Peter said, "You've been a good fella and you led a good life," and he said, "I want to show you around heaven some now that you're here." And the Texan said, "Well, thanks." So St. Peter showed him these glorious mountains, and Texan said, "Well, it looks all right, but have you ever seen the Guadalupe Mountains out there in West Texas, St. Peter?" So he showed him these glorious rivers and heavenly rivers, and St. Peter said, "How do you like that?" And the Texan said, "Have you ever seen the Sabinal River or the Guadalupe River and the cypress trees?" And St. Peter was getting a little bit agitated, and so he took him over to this precipice where you looked down and all you could see was hellfire and brimstone. Uh-oh. And he said, "You got anything like that in Texas?" And the Texan looked at St. Peter and said, "No, sir, we don't. But we've got a couple old boys in Houston that can help you put that thing out if you want." So it's a Texas thing, is what this is. We wave howdy to strangers, tip our hats and say yes ma'am. Try to be extra neighborly every chance we can. So I'll share the wealth and beauty that you may partake of the many wonderments here in the Lone Star State. Now when God blessed Texas, He gave us a clear blue sky, clouds just made for daydreaming, slowly floating by. He lit our nights with stars big and bright, just made for wishing on. It's a state of mind that you can't find till you go to old San Antonio, 'cause it's a Texas thing. I want y'all to know what it's like living in paradise and how we come by our bragging rights. It's a Texas thing. Well, it's as good as it gets. Ever wonder why you ain't a Texan yet? We got our own down-home cooking, great steaks, chicken fried, a Tex-Mex plate that'll set you straight with that bluebell on the side. We got our own brand of music made for holding your baby tight, and an old-time sawdust dance hall bathed in Lukenbach moonlight. It's a Texas thing. I want y'all to know what it's like living in paradise and how we come by our bragging rights. It's a Texas thing. Well, it's as good as it gets. Ever wonder why you ain't a Texan yet? It's a whole nother country. One thing I never did get clear: why did we join the Union? Got all we need right here. Well, it's a Texas thing. I could go on and on about them painted sunsets on the Panhandle Plains, and that Sweet Hill country rain, the wind in big thicket trees, Padre Island and the Gulf Coast breeze. It's new Luke Casey's and old straw hats, King Ranch pickups and old Cadillacs. It's a cowgirl on a cutting horse in a field of blue bonnets, and of course longhorns and jackalopes. Everything's bigger once you go, you'll know it's a Texas thing. Then I'll be willing to bet you wonder why you ain't a Texan yet. Woo! Yeehaw! we have a unique situation too, in that we are just one river away from the third world. My philosophy is pretty straightforward and simple. I think instead of building a wall, we should build a bridge. That's sort of what this song is about.
I like that.
And it's called Cantas con tu corazón, which means you sing with your heart. Where smoky light is spilling out of alleyway bars onto children curled sleeping beside shiny new cars. There sings a sad beauty, there shines a sad star down on the borderline. In her song there's a dream that has never come true. In her heart there's a rose she holds out for you. In her memories are wars fought by all for the few who draw the borderline. Cantas con tu corazón, you sing with your heart for free. Why must you swim that river to feed your family? In a candlelit chapel, in an Easter sunrise, beside tiny fires, beneath Villa's skies, the hope of the world burns in your children's eyes. Behind the borderline, for you'll keep on believing in the words to your tune, singing your children to sleep beneath that third world moon. Your song of love that has many names and knows no borderline. Cantas con tu corazón, and his light will shine on thee. For love is a river, and we are one family. Cantas con tu corazón, and the light will shine in thee. For love is a river and must be our destiny. Our destiny. Thank you. All right, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. I live in South Austin. When I travel around, people say, "You're from Austin, aren't you?" And I said, "No, I'm from South Austin." That's where the Bubbas and the Bubettes live. Y'all ever seen a belt sander race? We have belt sander races down there.
I have.
Oh, you're Bubba.
There's one old boy, it was in the paper, he had a window unit air conditioner sitting on a picnic table out in his front yard, sitting in front of it, getting cool.
You may be a redneck.
We have this thing called Large Trash Collection Day. They have it, every major city has it, but in South Austin, it's more like redneck recycle. It's you take all the junk out of your backyard and put it in your front yard, and your neighbor takes all the junk out of your front yard and puts it in his backyard. This is a sing-along also, just to make sure y'all are paying attention. All you have to sing is Hillbilly Heaven on the chorus right after A Bubba's Way of Life. And it's called Billy Bob's Backyard. Billy Bob wears a ball cap backwards and aviator shades, black grease neath his fingernails and a little on his face. With a semi-toothless smile, he said, "Howdy do." I was having second thoughts about what I was about to do. He's a shade tree mechanic and my alternator was gone. He said, "If you brought one, in an hour I'll have her on." Well, I said I had her rebuilt, sitting in my trunk. He said, "Pull around back," and that's when I saw Billy's jungle of junk. Billy Bob's backyard, it's a pack rat's paradise. It's a redneck collection from a Bubba's way of life. It's hillbilly heaven with an old rot standing guard. Whoa, over all them white trash treasures filling Billy Bob's backyard. Y'all did good on that. 4 Skeeter breeding tires leaning up against an ugly shed. Studebaker pickup up on blocks with grass growing in the bed. Tin roof and warped plywood making a crooked fence. Slimy water standing in a John boat's got about 100 dents. Rusty rebar and bags of saccharine that got wet and turned to stone. Motorless lawn mowers by a clothesline haywired onto his girlfriend's Harley tank top and his Harley tee. A dead water heater and 2 lawn chairs with ripped out strap seats. Billy Bob's backyard, well, it's a back rat's paradise. Well, it's a redneck collection from a Bubba's way of life. Here we go. Hillbilly heaven with an old rot standing guard. Whoa, over all them white trash treasures filling Billy Bob's backyard. Beer cans, beer cans, beer cans thrown in scattered piles. Chickens pecking in the dirt to an 8-track playing Born to Be Wild. Woo! Billy cleared away just enough space to fit my car between a satellite dish with a bird nest and a broke-down washing machine. I was leaning on a chopper frame, watching him sweat and cuss neath a torn tarp strung from his mobile home to an old Volkswagen bus. Billy Bob's backyard, it's a pack rat's paradise, a redneck collection from a Bubba's way of life. It's hillbilly heaven with an old rot standing guard. Whoa, over all them white trash treasures filling Billy Bob's backyard. down, boy, down. Inevitably, when someone hears that song and they walk up to me after the show, they say one of two things. I know that guy, or I am that guy.
Scary, ain't it?
This is a part of a new project that I've written. I've written a movie, or actually a movie was revealed to me by the good Lord. I had a series of songs written based on characters and hill country experiences that as I was traveling around. These different characters would climb in the truck with me, and tell me their story. This is one of them. It's called Hired Hands. The old cowboy sat on a bar stool, drinking the cold Lone Star. CNN was on in the corner of that small town Texas bar. I sat down and said, howdy, it's sure been a hot one today. He said, I know, I've been out in it on the back of a dapple gray. Well, he wore a faded work shirt, soaked with a working man's sweat. His hands were hard, but his fingers were nimble, rolling a cigarette. His neck was red and wrinkled with diamonds I'd once heard are the mark of a man who's lived a good life. So when he spoke, I caught every word. He said, I've always been one to spend my days in the sun, working for the brand. It's a hard life, but it's the one I chose, so I could be a free man. I like riding out in God's open country. I like living on the land, doing a good day's work for a good day's pay, using these hired hands, these hired hands. He said, these hired hands built a ranch with stone and steel and wood, and these hired hands make things right and make a promise good. Well, they still cook on campfires, they still drink from streams, they're still making my living, I'm still living my dream. And I'll always be one to spend my days in the sun, working for the brand. It's a hard life, but it's the one I choose, so I can be a free man. I'll be riding out in God's open country, in the middle of His master plan, doing a good day's work for a good day's pay, using these hired hands, these hired hands. The old cowboy sat on a bar stool, drinking a cold Lone Star. CNN was on in the corner of that small town Texas bar. This is another couple of characters in the movie. Of course, it's a song about, in the movie, about small town Texas and the prodigal singer-songwriter. A guy that was raised by his grandparents on a farm, and all he could think about growing up was getting out of this small town. 10 years later, after he left, his grandpa dies, and he comes back to town for his funeral, and gets with his brother and sister, and they're dividing up the grandparents' stuff. Grandma's apron smelled like bleach, and Martha Whiteflower sometimes she'd reach down into the pocket and pull out a treat, saying, how about a little something sweet? It might be a sugar cookie or a piece of fudge. I could feel the warmth, I could feel the love Grandma baked into every batch, wearing that apron starting from scratch. Well, it was all cotton, soft and warm. You used to let me use it for my Superman cape, and held me behind it when it thunderstormed. You know, Grandma's apron had power, Grandma's apron had grace. Grandpa's vest was corduroy. We'd watch old westerns in his lazy boy. He'd reach in the pocket and pull out a toy, saying, my sidekick's been a good boy. It might be a marble like the eye of a cat, or a whistle from a box of Cracker Jacks. That vest held his sweet surprises that came with a wink from his twinkling eye. He used to let me wear it when I rode my stick horse pony, chasing down outlaws, badge on my chest. And when we took naps in his lazy boy, Grandpa's vest knew the cowboy way. Grandpa's vest knew tenderness. When it came time to divide their things, brother wanted the car, sister wanted the rings. I said, I want the way they loved and blessed. Give me Grandma's apron and Grandpa's vest. Now my lady, wear Grandma's apron, baking sugar cookies when the grandkids come. I'll wear Grandpa's vest in my lazy boy, grandkids on my lap. I'll pull out a toy while we're watching Gene and Roy and the Duke. Hop along Cassidy, Cisco Kid, Lone Ranger, Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, Wanted Dead or Alive, The Rebel, Laramie, Cheyenne, Rawhide, The Rifleman, Maverick, The Lawman. Woo! Y'all are a wonderful audience. Y'all are a wonderful audience.
Great.
Y'all inspire me. That's in color. Doesn't count. Bonanza into Virginia. Nothing in color counts on that song. It doesn't count either, although I was. Penny was. Wow. There's another story, but Penny was one to think about. I have 3 daughters, and they're grown now, and they have given me 3 granddaughters, and one of whom is 3.5, and one is 2, and then one is 6 weeks old. And they all live with us at this time, pretty much, yeah. So I'm kind of getting the, reparenting, thing out, and the old songs, Wheels on the Bus. I still remember all those, Of course, they can do, pretty much whatever they want. I don't discipline hardly at all. I just say, I want you to know one thing. You run this house, okay? Let's just get that settled from the start. You hung the moon. But I was thinking the other day, basically there's 4 different approaches to that I learned from being a daddy. When they want to do something and you don't want them to do it, you can use the 1-word approach, which is no. And then you can use the 2-word approach, which is maybe later. If that doesn't work, you can use the 3-word approach, which is not right now. And the 4-word approach is the one that usually always works, and that's go ask your mother. But this is a song I wrote for my first granddaughter. It's also in the movie. May you always show the way, live by the golden rule, and be kind to others who are not kind to you. May you live with no regrets and never miss a chance to tell someone you love them or ask someone to dance. May you grow up straight and strong like a cottonwood tree, and shine like a wildflower for all the world to see. Feel the freedom of the wind and the warmth of a home. Have the laughter of a best friend and sacred time alone. And now your dreams are waiting. Say your prayers and close your eyes. May you one day see them all come true, and always know the world's a better place because of who you are, and that the best part of me is you. May you know the old man in the moon and wish upon the stars. May your eyes be filled with wonder from fireflies in a jar. May you hear the red-tail cry and hear the wide-winged sing, and know there's a reason why we're blessed with all these things. May you always listen to your heart when it's time to make a choice, and when your plans all fall apart, hear his still small voice that says keep believing, love will find a way, and that the darkest night will find the light of day. And now your dreams are waiting. Say your prayers and close your eyes. May you one day see them all come true, and always know the world's a place because of who you are, and that the best part of me is you. Thank you. There's no guarantees on this show in terms of compensation, and I'd really like for my wife to let me keep doing this, and I really do need this operation. Is that the tip jar right there?
Tips. One says tips on.
And I really plan on doing another set, but you know. Oh, that's the other one my mother used to use. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe later. We'll see. Harold and I, and I think the reason I got the gig was because Harold went with me, but we went over to the Ellis County Cowboy Church last time I was here, and I had sent the guy some material. It was so funny. You know, it was talking about a God thing. I have a booking agent, and somehow she'd gotten connected with this guy. I told her about him or about the church, and I've been playing a lot of cowboy churches, and so anyway, she said, he wants you to send him a CD representational of your gospel, your gospel cowboy church show, and I just really didn't have anything like that. So I didn't mail him anything, but while I was playing here the next morning, there was a couple that was here that was I met in Marble Falls that lived here, and they said, well, you just ought to go over there with us tomorrow and meet Buster, the guy that's the music director. I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I'm here, and Harold went with me. During the break, I saw Buster get off the bandstand and walk down the aisle there, and I introduced myself, and he said, oh, yeah, George, he said, I've heard so much about you. He said, we got to get you booked in here. Let me get my calendar. And, well, okay, And that was after I introduced him to Harold, though. So I think Harold charmed him, or just brought the Holy Spirit to the picture. But I've been playing a lot of cowboy churches, and I'll be playing there tomorrow morning. It's real exciting. That's kind of the mother cowboy church. That's like the original cowboy church, and it's like the biggest one in the state, one of the biggest in the country. And great bunch of folks, and this will be my second time back there. And I love cowboy churches. I was playing one when I first started, in the one in Austin where I play. I asked the music minister there. He's a recovering Methodist, and I said, Kevin, when you were growing up in upstate New York and you were a Methodist, I said, it seemed like this cowboy church preachers, that the sermon's a little bit long. How long were the sermons that your Methodist preacher did? And he said, short enough to beat the Baptist to Luby's. And I have CDs too, which I'd love to sign for you and personalize. And Christmas is just around the corner, and thanks, y'all. Way out in the country, on the camp meeting grounds, there's a gathering every Sunday from them hill country towns. We meet at the dance pavilion, sit on folding chairs. We sing 'em loud, we clap our hands and shake 'em in the air. Won't you come down, children, hear the loving word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Come down, children, be the living word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Some come in rusted pickups, some come in Cadillacs, some come riding Harleys, some on horses' backs. 'cause everybody's welcome at the church that has no walls. Some come in their Sunday best, some in bib overall. Won't you come down, children, hear the loving word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Come down, children, be the living word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Give a little clapping here. There we go. Yeah! A joyful noise. Walks a hatchet. Now the preacher keeps it simple. He says we've all gone astray, but if you want back in the herd, live the cowboy way. Always help the needy, love your neighbor every day. Always fight the good fight, don't forget to pray. Come down, children, hear the loving word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Come down, children, be the living word. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. Come down, children, come to Cowboy Church. And we're going to get Harold to play a little sax on the next set, so we got a special treat.